The papers, we just get to have a look at what the dailies have for us today. A copy of the Daily Nation, the Star, the Standard, as well as an e-copy of the People Daily. But we shall be getting to them in just a bit. Remember, we are still using the hashtag Good Morning Kenya on Twitter. Our official station handle is at KBC Channel 1. Our individual handles ever remain to be at Jane Mumboy, at Stephanie Ayete, at Doreen Arange. Troy, nimechoma lakini utatuambia yako.
At Ben Troy Njue.
At Ben Troy Njue. There we go. Sija burn sana. Yeah. All right, let's start off with the Daily Nation. That is how the front page is looking like. Very political today. We start with this particular story here on the header that has been the subject of such conversation and such criticism, especially from other political leaders, and that is concerning the statements that were made by the Deputy President in his ongoing U.S. tour. So he was speaking in Maryland yesterday, and he said that there are some government agencies that are trying to manipulate and the electioneering process, and appeals to the global community to ensure that the August 7 general elections are not interfered with, and they need to intervene at this particular point in time. And mind you, this is not the first time the Deputy President has made such claims. Of course, we'll be giving you more details. Moving on to the other story, the main read: the fixing of Kalonzo Mosioka. And the question they are asking here is, how did he find himself in this very same situation again, where the presidency is out of reach and also the vice presidency seat is also out of reach? Looking at his history with the relationship with the former Premier Raila Odinga, he has backed his presidential bids back in 2013, back in 2017, and just recently he revealed that they had a deal. They had agreed that this time around, he, that is the former Premier Raila Odinga, would back him for the presidency. But according to what we heard from Mutula Kalonzo Jr., they said that those two seats, the presidency and the vice president seat, are not reserved for him. He was actually reserved for the speaker's seat, and he said, bro, I don't want that. I'm not going for that. And that is what this whole story is all about. The other story is in regards to our country's financial situation. Yesterday, Parliament did adopt the 2022 medium-term debt management, which now allows the government to borrow more locally, and this will consequently affect small and medium enterprise businesses. And also, in the long run, this will rise our country's debt ceiling from the current 9 trillion shilling that was actually settled on back in November of 2019. So this is also a situation that most people are not very happy about, considering our country's debt is actually currently at 8.6 trillion Kenya shillings, just 400 million shy of the 9 trillion ceiling. And of course, there was conversation to raise this ceiling from the current 9 trillion to 12 trillion. But that is also a situation that many Kenyans are going to have to accept, swallow a bitter pill. Now, the other story, more Kenyans join the list of the super wealthy, all right? This is compared to 2020, where there were about, let me quickly just get this particular story. What page is it on? Page 9 of this particular daily. So according to a report by the 2022 Knight Frank Wealth Report, 39 more Kenyans have entered the millionaire list in Kenya, bringing the total to 3,362 from the previous 3,322. All right. Finally, the end of an era. You guys remember back in high school how receiving success cards was such a big deal? We used to count them. Na usiku unazihang over your bed right there, kusumbua tu watu kuonyesha zile cards umepata. So there's a piece here that just looks at those cultures that are slowly fading away, from prayer days in high school that were banned by the CS, mind you. Success cards are also seemingly fading away. So are we losing the culture, or what is the situation? That, ladies and gentlemen, is the front page of the Daily Nation for you today. Stephanie.
All right. So let's take a look at how the Star is looking like, what stories they have for us. And this is how the front page looks like. Democracy in Kenya on trial, Ruto tells US. Well, this is a story that has been mentioned on the Daily Nation. And it's a conversation that everyone is speaking about. Some of the highlights in the DP's talk in Maryland, US, are that our economy has been captured and curtailed and brokered. Also, injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. There's so much about that he's been quoted on this paper. We'll get to the details once we get there. Also, other stories making the star today is that Kikuyu factory to begin making COVID-19 tablets. Well, yes, we'll soon have the oral tablets being administered, and this will be by a drug maker who has been authorized again, and they're called the Universal Corporation Limited, a World Health Organization pre-qualified drug maker, and this drug is called the Molnupiravir. So it will be the first oral medicine in the world to be approved for use against the COVID-19 vaccine. This drug is an antiviral that was originally developed to treat the flu. It can be taken at home to treat the mild COVID-19 vaccine. We'll get to details also later on. Another story is that the Kenya Medical Practitioners and Dentists Council has let a hospital in Mwingi, Kitui County, off the hook over allegations that it left a woman barren after a botched surgery. Well, this is quite the incident because during surgery, the placenta was left in the woman's womb. But after hearing both parties involved in the case in July 2021, the MPDC Complaints Committee found the hospital was not at fault and ruled that Maka had no case. Well, Maka is the lady in this case. And then speaking to the Star, she said despite being heartbroken by the unfair ruling, committee that has denied her justice, she has instructed a lawyer to take the matter up before a court of law. She said she has also approached FIDA for support. Let's take a look at another just briefly. Well, Raila charms Nakuru as he begins marathon rallies in 7 counties. Yesterday, he was in Nakuru County, and he plans to, in the 9 days to visit more counties. Those will be in the Rift Valley, Nyanza, Western, Eastern, Central, Northeastern, and Nairobi to popularize the outfit and explain his agenda to Kenyans. Also, addressing his supporters during the stopovers on his first day of campaign, he said that he has joined forces with President Kenyatta to realize the dreams of the country's founding fathers, a united country. And to the last story, before we move on, the Nairobi Central lead in mental illness cases, MOH data shows. Well, Nairobi and Central regions have the highest numbers of mental health cases, and in the report, responding to a statement sought by nominated Senator Gertrude Musuruve, 8 counties from the Mount Kenya region are among the top 10 with a prevalence of 4,000 per 100,000. We'll get into details when we get to get into more into the paper later on. And Nairobi is closely followed also by Kiambu, whose prevalence stands at 1,093, and this is due to substance abuse. Well, Bantroy, that is it about the Star. Bantroy, take it away.
Very well, let's have a look at the Standard. This is how it looks. That's the front page with the headline, The Curse of Coalition Deals. Here we have an intricate web of how politicians, as Kalonzo says, betrayed each other. From the chain from Raila is connected to Kibaki, to Kalonzo, there's Uhuru to Ruto, and also Raila Odinga to more. You do remember the Power Pact in 2002, the ODM leader back then expected that the President Moi would endorse him, only to end up choosing Uhuru over him. That is in the year 2002. We are also having another web involving the Uhuru Kenyatta to William Ruto, who is expecting the president to endorse him this year, only to endorse ODM leader. Something else also Jane has touched on. Ruto speaks on poll rigging fears in US tour. again, it's not the first time that the DP has talked about usage of state machinery. Looking inside, DP says attempts by state to rig elections will be defeated. This is in relations to his 10-day tour of the United States, where he is speaking in Loyola University, Maryland, in the U.S., said attempts by a state to rig election would be defeated because of the Kenya's constitution, which is progressive, and also talks about it being democracy and robust. Well, still on the front page, we're talking about Kenya hits $3,300 millionaires. Of course, the recession and the COVID-19 had made 870 Kenyans knocked out of the dollar millionaire club, who are yet to recover. Something, Jane, is that South Africa is still leading Nigeria, Egypt, Kenya ranking at number 4 when it comes to the millionaires. And there will be a lot of millions flying because of the campaigns. But unfortunately, each and every election cycle, we experience a polarized economy. Is it going to be different this year? Well, let's wait and see how that pans out. In the front page, also, Biden warns Putin over the Ukraine war. A lot of people have talked about, let's just not castigate Russia. Let's go in with the boots and help Ukraine. Even the sportsmen are wearing no war jerseys. A lot of them talking about stopping the war in Ukraine. Well, taking a look at the page, 3-man battles with daughter over her mother's death certificate. This is in relations to the Ethiopian airline plane crash, which in Bishoftu, south of Addis Ababa, Ethiopia, in March of 2019, I beg your pardon, where a man says he needs the document, where he has gone to the High Court in Nairobi, but it has declined to intervene between the battle between him and the daughter, the family, the daughter and the son. Say, this man, yes, indeed, he is our father, but he wasn't there. He was battering our mother, and that is why they had to part ways. But now he's coming back because of the compensation. You can find the whole story on page 3. Of course, there is something else on the armed robbery stage raid at a bank entrance where 25 million of farmers was stolen by robbers in a day robbery. And they're talking about they have one suspect already in custody who is helping police to also see exactly what happened, because they are suspecting it was an inside job. There are also screenshots there, clips from security cameras that were in that bank. Something that has caught my eye, atheists ask Magoha to ban prayers in public institutions. That's something has caught my eye because Kenya is quite known as a religious country, and atheists want prayers banned in secondary schools, claiming some students, against their will, are forced to attend church services. And in a letter to the CS, the Atheist in Kenya Society, AKS, has asked the ministry to prohibit compulsory prayers and observation of religious practices in all public schools. Of course, that will not go down well with a lot of Kenyans being mentioned as one of the countries who quite do observe and respect religion. Something also that has caught my eye is, now that we have the holidays with us and our kids are at home, maid gets life sentence for filming herself defiling 4-year-old boy. And this happened after a 21-year-old woman who confessed to filming herself and later posting it online for financial gains. She will spend the rest of her life in prison. So parents, now that we have our kids at home, let's be vigilant. Jane?
Now, let me just pick up on that particular story concerning the atheist request. It's actually in line with this particular story here, looking at the end of an era when it comes to this exam time that we are in. Because back in the day, you remember how excited you would get. Go from 4... At the corner of the blackboard, you would count down the days to the exam. You strike each day off. Thursday kifika, strike it off. Square prayer day, we make a circle level. And those are the things that, you know, were really exciting back in the day, at least for what I remember. I don't know if it's the same in these days. I mean, it's been a while. But even the craze around success cards is not as much even in the streets. You guys remember how everywhere you would go, there would be a success card open, just singing, ringing somewhere?
Yes.
I don't know how excited you guys used to get. Maybe we could even hear from you, Stephanie and Troy, when you receive your success cards.
Actually, you do remember?
Yeah.
There was the 5 shilling one, and the melody one was 20 shillings. Of course, a lot of people couldn't afford the 20 shillings, but we had the 5 bob one, where you find a couple seated on a luxurious vehicle or a motorbike. Wow. And then you put some flowers and then some the Sultan of what? Do you remember those spray?
Yes.
Yes.
And you know, back in the day,
when you're called because of you have a success card at the assembly, you felt so good when it was quite big.
Oh, yes.
I don't know whether that excitement still is there. You have exams next week. I don't know whether excitement is still there.
I know. Stephanie.
And you know, during my days, because I can't relate when you say there were 5 shillings and 20 shillings, but you know, we were looking forward to the success cards, especially those that had something inside. You know, you wait for that
money.
Some money coming in. But now they're actually not giving success cards until after the examinations, which beats the purpose. I don't know if you ask me. Beats the purpose.
Also, the excitement was you could smell the money inside, and at the lights,
against the lights.
That's some 100 bob or 200 shillings. Man, those were the days.
Yeah, those were the days.
It was something that we would look forward to. From 4s, mnaona kagunia kamechukuliwa pale kwa ofisi ya secretary. 4 p.m. unasomewa Jane, Carol, Jane. It felt good, but now. It seems that culture is dying. Even that striking of the days on that kakona that you've written all the days of the month right there is slowly dying off. Prayers for candidates before starting the exams has also been a nationwide ritual. We actually had a whole prayer day that was reserved for Form 4s just a few weeks before the exam. So, you know, that culture seems to be slowly dying off. Now, the other story that you've touched on, Troy, is in regards to the Kenya Dollar Millionaires League. Just to get some more details as per what has been captured here, looking at this particular category, and actually there's another category, the ultra high net worth individuals. There are 2 that have actually been dropped off from the list, bringing the number down to 88 from 90. And one thing that has been identified from this particular category of people is that many of them are eyeing a second nationality. All right. This is in line with boosting their access to markets with favorable tax regimes, quality healthcare, as well as better education. Basically, they're looking for better investment opportunities in different countries, thus seeking this secondary nationality, an aspect that they have said the Kenyan space hasn't been as favorable for investments, and especially looking at the tax regime. And actually, 19% of them, of this whole figure, have overseas investments. So what does this tell us about the Kenyan economy, and especially now on the background of the recently approved debt management strategy for 2022 by the House just yesterday? The government is going to borrow more locally than internationally. That means small and medium enterprise businesses are going to bear the biggest brunt of this particular effect. But what can we do? What can we do? The government needs money.
Yes. And also the question of the rich being super rich
and the poor
becoming extremely poor, because some people cannot even afford a meal on the table. As opposed to, if you look at the West and America, you'll find that a lot of people are in the middle range, where they are not very rich and they are not quite poor, but essential services, they are able to afford them. But when it comes to sub-Saharan Africa, it's quite different. And another thing, the funny thing is that the West and America, the richest are not even politicians. But incidentally, when it comes to Africa, the super rich have to have, if they are not politicians, have to have ties and links to politics. Have you noticed that?
Yeah. So that we clearly see where the money is going. you know.
But when you think of it, it's a really sad situation because rightfully, as you're putting it, Troy, you know, in the West, a majority of the people, in as much as the cost of living there is high, they are also provided for. You find they are, nobody can sleep without food because the government has failed to provide or is not able to. If you're not employed, there is some money that is reserved for that particular category of people. Even the homeless people actually do get money. And that's the other part that I've never really understood, because there's so many homeless people in the West compared to the African space. But then again, looking at the political space there, I think also goes hand in hand with what the wealthy want there, because they also have a very big say when it comes to the politics of the country.
And something else that is drowning Kenyans is medical bills.
Do you know there was a report
the West
that
and
said
again and
so many
Americans.
Kenyans are one medical bill away from poverty?
You have, I'm quite sure you have been called for an Harambe for the last 2 months only.
Yes.
The last 2 months you've been called for a medical Harambe. You hear you need some money because somebody has to undergo an operation. Some people have to sell their land, which actually is driving them to poverty. We are hoping that the UHC is going to help and cover them so that we may not end up getting money and wealth only to end up paying medical
Spending
bills.
it
My take.
on health.
Well, anyway,
Stephanie.
Health and wealth.
To matters health, actually, not moving too far away from it, Nairobi and central regions are leading in mental illnesses. This is shown by data by MOH. And, you know, Nairobi is actually said to be the highest, has the highest burden in Kenya due to substance abuse. And then, you know, other counties follow, which something like Kiambu, Kirinyaga, Mombasa, and the likes. So what do you think, what is the problem there when you look at mental health issues, apart from the substance abuse, because this is on Nairobi, but other regions like Nyeri and other counties, it has not been owed to the drugs and substance abuse. So what could be the problem?
life is hard.
It is tough. Things are tough. The economy and everything.
The life is not lifing.
Life is not lifing. Things are not working out as it should. So this was a report by the MOH, and the ministry said the overall prevalence of mental disorders in the country stands at 10,823 for every 100,000 people. So this is quite a worry if you look at it keenly. Well, that's about it on the health matter. Back to politics is that Azimio parties asked Kalonzo to drop conditions on Raila deal. Well, this has been mentioned on the other papers. The two Azimio affiliates, this is the NAC and DAP Kenya, said in a joint statement that Kalonzo's claims that Raila should honor the NASA deal cannot hold water. And they said Kenyans are aware that NASA is dead and buried, and the death certificate was issued by the registrar of political parties. So that's what they had to say. Also, just weighing in on how Kenyans would take if Raila and Uhuru, if Raila and Kalonzo were to be running mates in the upcoming elections. This was a survey by Star yesterday, and it was the yes was 38% and the no was 62%. So this is what the people have to say about it. And also today's question is, should Kenya take back Colombia hippos? Well, that is unrelated. Moving to you, Troy.
Indeed. And something else that has really on everyone's lips is the war on Ukraine. We might be miles away, but the impact is way beyond Moscow and Kiev, the capital cities. Fuel is expected to rise because, as they say, Russia being the third the highest producer of or miner of oil, is that the oil uses the Ukraine peninsula. So now that there is war, that oil cannot get to the international market, which might add a cost of living to Kenyans, despite the fact that the war is hundreds of miles from here. And a lot of countries are lobbying for this war to end, and so that we may be able to go back to normal. Something else before we wind up is that UNEP, you know very well that United Nations Environment Program is situated, headquarters are right here in Nairobi, and they did celebrate 50 years, talking about they want to end plastic pollution in 2 years. The funny thing is that the plastic bags are back. Of course, it's a conversation for another day, but another picture that has really caught my eye is this, guys. I've seen pigs on border borders, I've seen sheep and mbusis, but I've never seen a cow being transported using border, and several cases of animal welfare violations are witnessed daily on the roads, but no action is taken on the culprits. That has been the newspaper review. Let's have another break.